Hello! Welcome to the Poe-Cast. I'm Christopher.
And I'm Jonathan.
So, 21st of May, Japan versus Poland. Japan wins by a smashing landslide of 350 to 140. Japan's one of the teams that I particularly am backing, and they're doing really well, and are quite... They actually have a legendary beater duo, second only behind the 1994 Bulgarian beater duo.
I like Japan because their magical culture is so different than the English magical culture that we saw so much in the Harry Potter series.
Yes.
And in Pottermore it talks a lot about that. Like how cherry wands are very prized in Japan because of their high power abilities. They're a very powerful wand and can cast extremely strong spells.
Yes, which I think cherry wands are popular in Japan for two reasons. One, cherry wood is very culturally significant. The cherry tree is very culturally significant to Japan. And two, it would make sense to want to have a powerful wand because of the powerful nature of Japanese magical creatures. A lot of them are very powerful spirits that, spirits and monsters that bounce around and do a lot of not so nice tricks.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got gnomes and trolls and everything in England. The stuff in Japan is not quite so corporeal.
Yes, I think the magical creatures in Japan are less whimsical than many of them in England.
Yeah. Well, they're whimsical to us, but in their whimsicality, they're also extremely dangerous.
Yes, they are. That is true.
So, 22nd of May, Wales versus Germany. I was very pleased that Wales won 330 to 100. Unfortunately, the German seeker attempted the Wronski feint, where the seeker pretends to have spotted the snitch and performs a vertical dive, basically attempting to lure his
other
counterpart into crashing.
Into crashing into the ground. But that did not exactly work for him, since
He crashed into the ground. He couldn't pull up in time. The Welsh seeker, Jurgen Cadwallader, caught the snitch just a couple of minutes after the German seeker was stretchered off the field, and only after nobody was in a celebratory mood, and only after the Welsh team heard that the German seeker would survive did manager Gwynnog Jones pronounce herself to be bloody delighted. All right, 4th of June.
Yes.
This match. This was a disappointing match. Brazil versus Wales. Brazil won 460 to 300. Neither teams or their managers were on their best behavior. The Brazilian manager was very insulting to the Welsh team earlier in the World Cup.
But the Welsh manager was also not on her best behavior.
Was not on her best behavior at all. No.
As she wore a T-shirt that said...
tried to wear a T-shirt saying it should have been hazy.
Into the ring.
She, of course, was stopped by security officials and not allowed to wear that. But at the end of the... What else happened in the middle of this?
Someone nearly lost their head.
Yeah.
The keeper...
The Brazilian
keeper.
beaters...
Oh, beaters, yes.
No, wait a minute. No. It was the Welsh beater who sent a bludger almost trying to take off the head of the Brazilian keeper. And, yeah. The Brazilian chasers basically kept their heads when everybody else was making fouls left and right. But the Brazilian seeker caught the snitch. He snatched it literally right from under the Welsh seeker's nose.
I'm personally kind of glad about that, actually, because I think that Wales behaved more poorly than Brazil did.
Honestly, and I'm upset about both teams because I certainly can't back Brazil. Welsh manager Gwyneth Jones is in custody this evening, having attempted to make good on her promise to curse off the Brazilian manager's face in full view of the packed stadium.
However, the Brazilian manager is recovering nicely, and most of the skin on his face has regrown.
Bulgaria versus Norway. Bulgaria 170 to Norway's
20
points.
This is a good match.
This is a fun
good match. It is short though.
Really sudden match.
Both teams scored 20 points, and
then Victor Krum
caught the snitch.
Again. A New Zealand, like the last team that Bulgaria faced, one of the
New Zealand, yes.
Against New Zealand, one of their players behaved badly and was sent off the court. So Bulgaria has gotten lucky, but Victor Krum is showing that they are still a solid team.
Yes.
And that people who are trying to mess with them are just hurting themselves.
Yes. Victor Krum is doing very well this World Cup, and I am looking forward to seeing the outcome of the Bulgaria versus Japan game.
Yes. It's said that that the Norwegian seeker, after Krum raised the snitch up in his hand, after only 42 minutes of a game, flew directly to the ground and kept banging her head on the ground until she was dragged to her feet by the keeper. Krum, who was written off by many journalists as too old and slow to compete at 38 years old, was borne off from the pitch in triumph by his fans. However irrational it may seem, many fans blame the Selma for Norway's loss. The Selma is a Norwegian lake monster that the team brought as a mascot and which caused a bloodbath at the opening ceremony. The Selma is tonight hiding in a secret location.
Seems as though a lot of people
are hiding in secret locations.
Yes.
USA versus the Liechtenstein team. 450 for USA to Liechtenstein's 290. USA went nuts after this.
Yes,
victory.
A lot of memory charms were required in order to erase the memories of many muggles who saw all of the celebration on the part of USA. And
giant fireworks everywhere.
Yes.
Red, white, and blue everywhere. It's actually nice to see that the U.S. is finally becoming a well-rounded, skilled team in the Wizarding World's most popular sport. The U.S. historically has really not been that good at international Quidditch since they were the only country in the world
to play quad pot.
To have embraced as their national game the game of quad pot, which I don't even know what quad pot is. I still don't understand it.
I don't know.
It's just weird.
It has to do with getting a quaffle or a quaffle-like ball into a cauldron filled with potion at the opposite end of the field before it explodes in your face.
Sounds American.
If you get the quaffle or whatever ball they use into the cauldron on the opposite side of the field that you are on, then you score a point. But the quaffle randomly explodes.
Oh, the quaffle explodes.
Yes.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yes, the quaffle explodes.
How
randomly.
could we rig that up for Muggle Quidditch to have the quaffle randomly explode in people's faces? That'd be
Maybe
hilarious.
have a huge water balloon be the quaffle.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And trying to toss it and catch it, and oh my goodness, that'd be awesome.
Yes.
Maybe like a really thick water balloon so it wouldn't explode.
Or like one of the big balloons, but only fill it up part of the way.
Part of the way.
So it doesn't explode like whenever you even try to toss it.
Yeah, because I mean, if it's just gonna explode in the air when you're tossing it, that wouldn't really work.
No.
So the American fans kind of went a little bit crazy and kidnapped the Liechtenstein mascot Hans, the large and gloomy Augry, which is a rain-predicting vulture-like bird. And frankly, Hans the Augry is just hilarious.
That
and,
is
and,
awesome.
and adorable. I just love him. But thankfully, an international incident was averted. The Americans peacefully returned the mascot, and it's being passed off as basically just a prank. Yeah.
However, the Liechtenstein coach and manager Ferdinand Jagendorf has issued the following statement concerning this entire ordeal, which is "Das finden wir nicht lustig," which means we don't find that funny.
President Samuel G. Quahog of the Magical Congress of the United States of America said, "We are delighted to report that this prank has ended in a friendly and cooperative fashion and trust that Hans is none the worse for his little adventure." Minister Otto Obermeier of Liechtenstein said, "We are very pleased that the Americans have returned our beloved mascot. Magizoologists are currently keeping Hans under close observation for any ill effects. If any are discovered, we will, of course, lobby the ICWQA for the USA's immediate disqualification from the World Cup."
And I hope that they're not disqualified, since the next match is USA versus Brazil.
USA versus Brazil, and I want Brazil to lose.
Yes. I also want Brazil to lose, but mostly just because I'm rooting for USA as the underdog.
Yeah. Though, honestly, just looking at that lineup of who's in the... Is that quarterfinals or semifinals?
This is semifinals.
This is semifinals.
Yes. The lineup is interesting, since Brazil has been doing very well. Well, they did very well against Wales, and the USA also did very well against Liechtenstein, but...
Yeah.
The USA scoring 450 versus Liechtenstein, and Brazil scoring 460 versus Wales.
Kind of similar numbers in the two matches.
Yes, yes.
10th of June, Japan versus Nigeria. Japan, of course, won 270 to Nigeria's 100. This was a fun match. Both of these teams were favorites, despite the Nigerians bringing weird vampire creatures that bit many people and resulted in one of the teams that I've already forgotten losing.
It was the Liechtensteinian team. Or no.
No, because they lost.
No, it was
Jamaica.
Jamaican team.
Jamaica
Yes,
against
Jamaica.
the USA. Yeah. So this match ended quite abruptly with the Nigerian Seeker's broom being smashed by a bludger. This, of course, shouldn't have happened. The Nigerians were riding the controversial Thunderbolt 7, which is a competitor, or used to be a competitor before this match, of the Firebolt series. And many experts, it seems, quite appropriately felt that the Thunderbolt sacrificed safety for speed. Professional brooms ought to be able to withstand all bludger blows. An inquiry is already underway. Rumors that a posse of Nigerian warlocks is currently headed for the Thunderbolt headquarters in Manchester, England, have not been confirmed. That brings us up to date with all the matches currently played in the 2014 Quidditch World Cup held in the Patagonian Desert. These semifinals begin at the end of this week. The first match will be between the USA and Brazil on the 27th of June, followed by Japan versus Bulgaria, which is scheduled for Sunday, the 29th of June. Of course, keep up to date with the Patagonia 2014 Quidditch World Cup by following Ginny Potter's live reports, which are published in the Daily Prophet offices. Of course, find that in Diagon Alley, Southside on Pottermore.com. Now, who are we backing?
I personally am backing Bulgaria in the Japan versus Bulgaria match because I really like that Victor Krum has come back.
Yeah.
And
we've already talked that we're
Yes.
both backing USA against Brazil.
yes.
I actually can't decide between Bulgaria and Japan. I mean, Bulgaria, they've been doing really, really well, and it's awesome that Victor Krum has come back, and they are kind of, USA and Bulgaria kind of are the underdogs this time. But I just really, really love Japan, their magical culture, their non-magical culture, and they've been doing really great this time. Their team appears to be really, really skilled, and it'll just be really interesting. I mean, it's really a toss-up in the air of who's going to be the 2014 champion. So for the Poe-Cast, I'm Christopher.
And I'm Jonathan.
And thank you for listening.